Good afternoon. My name is Wendy Shaw, and as the Chief Executive Officer of Longhorn Council, it is my pleasure to welcome you. Today, we are here to recognize Mr. Ross Perot, Jr., who has lived his life by the Scout, Oath, and Law, and inspires us all to leave our campsites better than we found them. But first, please help me welcome the Dyess Air Force Base Honor Guard to post our colors.
Salute! Those not in uniform, please place your right hand over your heart. Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Two.
You may be seated. Now it is my pleasure to welcome Cub Scout Grace Fuller from Pack 47-7 to lead us in our invocation.
Heavenly Father, thank you for today. Thank you for us to come together. Thank you for this lunch, to bless it to be healthy and strong, and bless the Cub Scouts to do their duty and to do their best. Bless the military to be safe. Bless us to remember to live by the Scout oath and law. In the name of Jesus Christ, amen.
Let's all thank Grace. All right. Well, lunch will be served momentarily, so please enjoy your meal as we continue our exciting program. Once again, I am delighted to be with you here today to pay tribute to a premier youth program and to honor such a distinguished member of our community. It is the mission of the Boy Scouts of America to prepare young people to make ethical choices over their lifetimes by instilling in them the values of the Scout Oath and Law. Scouting has been fulfilling this mission for 112 years. Funds raised through this luncheon provide the necessary resources for Longhorn Council to operate and extend that mission to more than 10,000 youth throughout 23 counties in North and Central Texas. There are many impactful outcomes happening in Longhorn Council that I could share with you, but here are just a few. Nearly 100,000 service hours to our community in 2021. A robust outreach program serving more than 500 youth in Tarrant County. A comprehensive program and property transformation that redefines how we serve today's families is launching at Camp Tahoyah in 2023. Last year, 424 scouts earned the rank of Eagle Scout. Today, we are here to reflect on the value of eagles. In many cultures, eagles are highly revered and considered sacred. They are honored with great care and shown the deepest respect. Eagles represent honesty, truth, strength, courage, wisdom, power, and freedom. Eagles do not accept the status quo. Eagles look at things from a higher perspective. Eagles are patient with the present, but they know the future holds possibility. Eagles don't avoid storms. They fly above them. The rank of Eagle Scout is recognized as a symbol of dedication, determination, and leadership. It is known throughout the world and appreciated in all walks of life. The first Eagle Scout rank was presented 110 years ago, and since then, 2.7 million Scouts have earned the rank of Eagle. At this time, I would invite all of the Eagle Scouts in the audience to please stand and be recognized. Wow, what a tremendous showing of Eagle Scouts today. We're super excited that all of you could join us. Now please help me welcome to the stage Eagle Scout Renee Raccio. Renee earned her Eagle Scout rank in August of 2021, and she will serve as MC for our event today. Renee?
Thank you all for attending today's luncheon. My name is Renee Raccio, and I am a member of Troop 445, chartered to the Arlington Yacht Club. I'm excited to be serving as your MC. I decided to join Scouting because I wanted to be able to go on all the fun activities that I got to watch my brother do when I was growing up. Becoming an Eagle Scout was important to me because I wanted, and still do want, to make a positive impact on our community. Just like the Perot family, Scouting is a family affair. Now please help me welcome my brother and fellow Eagle Scout Adam to the stage to share more about Scouting's impact.
Hi. I've been called here to speak today because I am what you might call one of Scouting's success stories. I'm an Eagle Scout. I have 57 merit badges, double silver palms, and have served 2 terms as the local Order of the Arrow chapter chief. I'm here today to tell you about how Scouting has impacted me. Well, to that I would say that Scouting's taught me a lot of things. It's taught me the Scout staples, such as camping, hiking, wildlife identification, camp cooking, and how to come up with new recipes on the fly when you don't have all the ingredients for your camp cooking. I've also learned a lot of things you generally wouldn't associate with Scouting, such as budgeting, time management, and, though I still despise it, paperwork. I use these latter skills every day. But, however, I would not say that they are the most important things I've learned in Scouting. Instead, the biggest impact Scouting has had on me is that it's taught me how to persevere and how to fail. First off, of course, there's perseverance. Now, in case you didn't already catch it from what I said earlier, I hate paperwork. It is one of my least favorite things in the world. If I could, I would annihilate it altogether. So it should come as no surprise to you that when I first joined Scouting, I took one look at all the pages upon pages of requirements and said, no way, no how. I joined Scouting to go and have fun in the great outdoors, not to do paperwork. I had no intention of achieving the things I have. In fact, I didn't even want to earn Scout. But as time went on, I saw the other Scouts around me earning lots of ranks and merit badges. And so I thought to myself, perhaps if they can, I can too. As a result, I decided to work towards first class. After all, I thought to myself, it's kind of expected of you. It's a solid C, as it were. Well, that came and went, and while the paperwork was certainly detestable, it was doable, and the skills I learned along the way were quite useful. So I looked to the future. I'd heard that being an Eagle Scout looks very good on resumes, and that medal sure is shiny. So I decided to work towards being an Eagle Scout. I didn't ever really expect to make it. It was just a pie-in-the-sky goal. Well, several years and literal hundreds of pages of paperwork later, I made it. Only I found I'd been tricked. I'd been presented with a carrot on a stick, and so been made to persevere, to put the work in paperwork. Only it wasn't so bad after all. Yes, paperwork's hard and occasionally painful, but it feels good to persevere, to get results. However, while perseverance is quite valuable, I would not say that it is the be-all, end-all. After all, the definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over again and expecting different results. To actually succeed, you also need to know how to fail. Now, that may sound weird to you, but think about it. Most of you didn't succeed easily. Along the course of your lives, you made mistakes and you encountered roadblocks. In short, you're all a bunch of failures. Get over it. But the thing is, you did get over it. You got back up and you learned from your mistakes, and so you succeeded. Mr. Perot's father put it, failures are like skinned knees. They're painful, but superficial. Look at Abraham Lincoln. Before he became famous, he was a failed businessman who went bankrupt on several occasions. But he didn't let his failure stop him. He learned from it. He learned that being a businessman perhaps wasn't the best career path for him. So he went and studied law, while, in one of history's strangest true tales, moonlighting as a professional wrestler. Eventually, he became the President of the United States. The big problem, in my opinion, with modern society is that it coddles people. It does everything in its power to keep people from failing. And while that is, to a certain extent, a good thing, after all, hardly anybody serves, it also means that people don't know how to fail. And if you don't know how to fail well, if you don't know how to get back up and try again and learn from your mistakes, then no amount of perseverance will allow you to succeed. In light of that, the great importance of Scouting is that it provides people with a sort of sandbox where they can safely learn how to fail. I certainly failed many times in my Scouting career. The first time it rained when I was on a camp out, I'd set up my tent in a little depression in the ground, what's called a watershed. As a result, all the water shedded into my tent, and I woke up at 2 in the morning in an inch of water. That was perhaps one of the most miserable nights of my life. But the thing is, I learned from my mistake. A couple years later, there was this campout where it rained so miserably bad that we ended up having to leave early due to flash flooding. Now, I am proud to say that on that campout, my tent was the only tent that did not flood. And that is why when people ask me, how has scouting impacted you? I tell them that it has impacted me by teaching me how to persevere and how to fail. Ladies and gentlemen, here's to failing well.
Thank you, Adam, for sharing what scouting means to you. Now it is my privilege to welcome to stage Longhorn Council's Vice President of Development, Managing Partner of Trinity Investors, Golden Eagle Luncheon Chairman, and fellow Eagle Scout, Sandra.
Thank you, Renee, and thank you all for attending the Golden Eagle Luncheon today. Serving as Vice President of Development for the Longhorn Council, I have a deep respect for each of our sponsors and for the many contributions they have made to our community. Each of them exemplifies scouting values of good citizenship, service, and compassion for those in need. You'll find a full list of today's sponsors in your program book, but I would like to recognize a few especially. Woodcrest Capital and BSA National Board Member Jim Rifle for serving as our presenting sponsor, along with Delta Oil and Gas and current Longhorn Council President Greg Thomas for serving as our title sponsors. Let me give them a quick hand of applause. As a strong proponent of scouting, I've experienced how this program has a measurable impact on its participants and that scouting values have lifelong importance. My mother, brother, and I immigrated to the United States when I was only 3 years old in 1968 to join my father, who had come the year before to pursue a master's degree in engineering. We came here with no existing family or knowledge of most American customs. Scouting was an important component of my upbringing, as it was my primary exposure to many of the wonderful outdoor activities that Texas and the U.S. had to offer. Without scouting, I would have never experienced activities such as fishing, camping, and hiking. My brother and I both worked our way up to the rank of Eagle, gaining valuable skills through merit badges and also experiencing high adventure bases, national jamborees, and much more. We are also both blessed with sons who have achieved the rank of Eagle and have been able to share similar experiences with them. Speaking for myself, the impact of scouting is immeasurable and was one of the key components of making me who I am today. The skills, the experiences, the values, along with the leadership training are hard to describe in words. The lessons learned in scouting have carried me through the rest of my life. For me, the outcome speaks for itself, as I've been blessed with considerable success in life, and I attribute much of it to what I gained from my exposure to the scouting program. Moving on, I would now like to welcome Distinguished Eagle Scout and current President of the National Eagle Scout Association, Frank Suru, to assist with our award presentation.
Well, before I get started, how many of y'all here are TCU fans? That's one of the reasons I may not have shown up today. I went to the University of Kansas, and you know, you blew up our 5-0. We're going to wake up from our dream one of these days. So, anyways, no, great to be here. Thank you very much for including me, and excited to present the Distinguished Eagle Scout Award to Ross here. but I have a personal story that I'd like to share with you. And it goes way back to my formative years. Maybe I was 8 or 9 years old, and my grandparents immigrated from Japan to the United States in 1908 and 1910, respectively. And they lived in a large Japanese community in Seattle, Washington. So in May of 1942, after the attack on Pearl Harbor, the Japanese Americans and Japanese descent were rounded up and incarcerated. They were basically had to sell their house, businesses, cars, everything that they couldn't carry. And it was a terribly low point of life for my family. So when I was young, I asked my parents, so, aren't you mad? Aren't you upset with the way the government treated you? And they said, no, we're not mad, but we are embarrassed at the way our country of origin has harmed our new country, and equally embarrassed that our new country that we accepted cannot trust us enough, so they had to incarcerate us and put us in prison. So they wanted to prove the government was wrong and start a family of great Americans. And that was going to start with me. They said next to military service, the very best way to understand the ideals and the characteristics of a great American is to be in the Boy Scouts. And not just to be a Boy Scout, to be an Eagle Scout. So the DISA award that I wear often on my lapel, is a validation that I handled I continued with those ideals of being a great American for the years after I was 18. So it's my pleasure, I'll get back on script here, I kind of went tangential a little bit. So it's my pleasure to be presenting Ross Perot Jr. With the Distinguished Eagle Scout Award, where he proved and validated the ideals of being a great American. I put that in there. This award was established in 1969 to acknowledge Eagle Scouts who have received extraordinary national level recognition, fame, or eminence within their field and have a strong record of voluntary service to their community. Only Eagle Scouts who earn the Eagle rank at least 25 years previously are eligible for nomination. The award is given by the National Eagle Scout Association upon the recommendation of a committee of distinguished Eagle Scouts. As Wendy mentioned, as today, more than 2.7 million Scouts have earned the rank of Eagle. Of those, less than 1% have been awarded the Distinguished Eagle Scout Award. To show you, to kind of put that in perspective, there's been 3 times as many people that have stood on top of Mount Everest that have received the Distinguished Eagle Scout Award. And even more rare is the multi-family members being honored with this award. Ross Perot Sr. received the Distinguished Eagle Scout Award in 1970. I think Glenn Adams and his father are both as another pair, and we really couldn't figure out any others. So it's very, very unusual and rare to have that happen. Now I call on my fellow Distinguished Eagle Scouts and special guests to join me on stage to begin the award ceremony. Glenn Adams, class of 2009, Jim Rifle, class of 2010, Al Lambert, class of 2014, Senator Bill Hagerty, class of 2017, Greg Thomas, Council President, Sanjay Chandra, Event Chairman, Wendy Shaw, Longhorn Consul, Scout Executive and CEO, Sam Thompson, Circle 10, Consul, Scout Executive and CEO. There's nobody left sitting down at the table. And next I'd like to ask our Eagle Scout speakers, Adam and Renee, to escort Mr. Perot to the stage. By the authority vested in me by the National Council of Boy Scouts of America, I now declare this Court of Honor to be open and in session. Ross Perot Jr. became an Eagle Scout on January 23, 1974. He's distinguished himself and brought honor to scouting and the U.S. Air Force with warmth and care as a very visible public figure with illustrious career achievements. Ross is indeed a role model for all Scouts and certainly for all Eagle Scouts. It's my special privilege to present this plaque to Ross with a resolution from the National Eagle Scout Association, and I'll read it. Whereas an Eagle Scout, he has continued to serve God, country, and other people by following principles of the Scout Oath and the Scout Law. Whereas he has given distinguished service to his community and nation as a captain in the United States Air Force, as chairman of the Perot Companies and Hillwood, as a director of both U.S. Chamber of Commerce and the American Enterprise Institute, as a board member emeritus for both Vanderbilt University and the Smithsonian National Air and Space Museum, and a philanthropist whose beneficiaries have included the Dallas Police Foundation, Air Force Memorial Foundation, Longhorn Council, Circle 10 Council, and the Summit Bechtel Reserve. Now therefore, in recognition of these and other achievements and the desire of the Boy Scouts of America upon nomination of the Longhorn Council and Circle 10 Council, and the recommendation by a committee of distinguished Eagle Scouts to the National Court of Honor, acting on behalf of the Executive Board of the Boy Scouts of America, the honor and rank of Distinguished Eagle Scout is awarded and conferred upon him. Please help me congratulate Mr. Ross Perot on becoming a Distinguished Eagle Scout. All I have is photos, the last thing, so.
I think you're staying up. Let's see. Got off script, sorry. And I think Renee.
Mr. Perot, congratulations on this prestigious award. I would now like to invite Senator Bill Haggerty to the podium for a special presentation.
Well, it's a great honor for me to be with all of you today, but there's no greater honor than for me to join my longtime friend Ross Perot as we recognize him for Scouting's highest award, the Distinguished Eagle Scout Award. Let's give Ross another round of applause. I told some friends earlier, Ross and I were classmates in college. We were fraternity brothers, and my fraternity brothers elected Ross by acclamation to be our leader as president. And I would have known then, as I certainly know now, that Ross was an Eagle if no one had even told me, because of the way he lived his life, the sort of leadership that he provided, and now the countless contributions that he's made to his community and to his nation. So again, it's my great honor to be here with him to join this celebration, and I thank you all for being here as well. Thanks.
Thank you, Senator. Mr. Perot, I welcome you to take a seat within our campsite while we introduce our next special guest to the stage to assist with the keynote discussion. Maddie Parker was elected in June 2021 as the 45th mayor of Fort Worth. Leading one of the fastest-growing large cities in the nation, Mayor Parker has set her focus on key issues that move Fort Worth forward, including economic development growth, innovative transportation and mobility solutions, quality education opportunities for every student, and building a safer, more prosperous community. Please help me welcome Mayor Maddie Parker to the stage to assist with today's keynote discussion.
Okay, that's better.
Great.
How are you?
I'm doing great.
Great.
What
So
a special
I joked
day.
when I
Thank
got
you.
here. I know. I joked when I got here that thank you for not making me put this chair up. If anybody has kids sports on sidelines, usually it takes me a good 15 minutes. We're halfway through the game before I finally get my chair put together. I'm not an Eagle Scout, so if I'd had you, I had to worry about that. So they give me a series of questions to prompt Ross, but if you've ever heard Ross Perot speak, he doesn't need much prompting. So my goal is really to move the conversation along and try to give a glimpse at how important the Boy Scouts is to you and your entire family. Let's start with the first question that really focuses on leadership, which I know sounds broad, and for this room, we understand the significance of that, but we're facing a tremendous time, not just in our country, but across the world. You think about the legacy of the Boy Scouts, and family is a huge part of that. But when you think about the concept of leadership and how important it is in your own life, talk to the audience about that specifically and what this organization has meant to you and your family.
Well, leadership is the critical characteristic if you're going to continue to run, and have a great country. And if you look at who's in the room today, this is a room of really strong leaders. And Boy Scout teaches leadership. And so that's why, as we built companies through the decades, we would always look for the Eagle Scout because they had the leadership, and we wanted military. We wanted men and women of the military because the military taught leadership. And Bill Haggerty is a great leader. Bill, thank you for being with us today. But also we have Senator Royce West with us from Dallas. And Senator West, thank you for being with us. And these are two of our nation's great public servants, two great leaders like you, Mayor, a great leader.
So next question is easy. Was becoming an Eagle Scout more difficult, or was the helicopter ride around the world more difficult?
Well, being an Eagle Scout, there's sort of a paved road.
Yeah.
I mean, there's a way to do it, and you can see how to do it. Going around the world, you had to pave your own road. And so that was more difficult than becoming an Eagle Scout because there wasn't a book on how to go around the world, but you had a book on how to become an Eagle Scout.
So, because I've heard the story, some people may have not. Tell just the piece of the story about trying to get around Russia and what you had to do to make the trip work.
So we decided in August of August of 82 to fly a helicopter around the world, and the reason we did it is there a man named Dick Smith, an Australian, took off from Fort Worth Bell Factory and announced he's going to be the first man to fly a helicopter around the world. And I saw it, and I read about it in the paper. I was a helicopter pilot. I was talking to my dad, and Dad said, "What do you think about that Dick Smith?" And I said, "Dad, we ought to go beat him." And Dad said, "Great idea, let's go beat him." And so we took off. Within 30 days we took off. September 1st we took off, but we didn't have permission to go into all these countries around the world. And you go back to 1982, the Cold War was still a hot war. And so we couldn't go through Russia. We asked to go through Russia, and the Russians said no. They didn't trust us, and I don't know why. But 1982 wasn't that far from 1979 when my father broke out his two men from Iran. And so Russian, and here's this Texan breaking people out of jail, you don't look like the normal Texan floating around. I think they're very suspicious of why we asked to land at their Air Force bases in the Kuril Isles. So they didn't let us in, and we had to land on a container ship off the Russian coast. And Mayor, that's why the trip had never been done before, is you couldn't organize that piece. And so a third of our trip was flying. 2/3 of the trip was a great ground team that got everything organized for us, including a container ship that sailed from San Francisco to the exact latitude and longitude that we needed with the helipad on the bow and jet fuel And that all came together within a 30-day period. So that was the leadership needed in order to get the trip. And that's why it hadn't been done. And when we got there, we were at the edge of a typhoon, and we had a 40-foot sea and a 50-knot wind, and we only had 15 minutes of fuel left, and so we were highly motivated to get on that boat. And by the grace of God, we got on that boat.
We're glad you were okay. So shifting a little bit, you think about education. You and I have shared a lot about this lately in our conversations. We're working on education in Tarrant County. What I wish sometimes is that every student had some type of Boy Scout interaction, because we understand how important it is to both their educational journey, but also giving them the resilience. And honestly, it almost brings tears to your eyes when you see these young men and women say the pledge with such prestige. They understand patriotism, they understand duty and honor. How do you think, I guess the bigger question is, how do you think education right now in the country what's the trajectory look like, and what can specifically this organization and Boy Scouts help infuse our educational journey better?
I think if you could wave a magic wand and have every young person in school be a Boy Scout, we'd have a radically different country. You'd have happier families, more productive citizens, and I think it's going to be the Boy Scouts and the churches are how we're going to have to knit our society back together again, and that's why my wife and I are such big donors to Scout Reach in Dallas, into the West Dallas schools, to help basically pay for Scoutmasters to run really good troops in those schools, because that's what those young boys and girls need, is that level of leadership. And we try to get a lot of retired military in there to teach those skills. For the Boy Scouts in the room and for the Scouts, you really take for granted what you learn. And until you are with non-Scouts, it's a little shocking what we do and what they don't. I'm in survival school at the Air Force. I'm at Fairchild Air Force Base. And, we're camping. It's like a camping, big deal. And so, the first night, the drill instructor comes in and says, okay, everybody's got to go out and camp by themselves. And I looked at the sergeant and I said, Sergeant, why do you need to camp by yourselves? And he said, Lieutenant, not everybody was an Eagle Scout. They go, believe it or not, people have never camped by themselves out in the wild. Again, we took it for granted, and they did. And so it's a critical skill set, and it's a lifetime skill set, and skills you don't pick up in a regular education.
So along those lines is probably why you and Sarah also invested so considerably in the Rex Tillerson Leadership Center. Why that investment specifically, and what's happening there at that center?
Well, we did that at the Bechtel Summit for many different reasons, but number one, to really honor my father, and also to honor Rex. I mean, Rex is a great friend. He really led that effort, and so in order to honor my father and to let these boys and girls come in from one of my first visits was international scouting, and she had scouts from all over the world. Number one, embracing scouting, but number two, teaching these non-Americans. It's their first trip to the United States, and they get to see what a great country we have, and so it's great for them, but it's also great for the American brand and our diplomacy. So there are lots of reasons why we supported the Bechtel Summit.
What's your most humorous scouting story you can remember growing up?
Oh, we had a lot. I think the humorous for me was our scoutmaster was a retired Marine Corps Master Sergeant, and Vietnam veteran, hard, tough man. And here come all these boys, and we're going on our first camp out, and our mothers take us shopping, and we've got more gear than we could possibly carry. And here's this Marine Corps gunnery sergeant, and he's got a little knapsack, barely any equipment. And I said, Mr. Snyder, where's all your stuff? And he said, Ross, he said, in a day or two, you're going to learn when you carry all that up and down the mountain, you don't need all that. Yeah. And lo and behold, you saw this gear getting shedded everywhere, because he was right. We didn't need all that. And so that's one of those early lessons. You look at those veterans of what they do versus the kids.
And you just shared with me both Hunter and Hill, your sons, are both Eagle Scouts as well. What about memories with them, getting them through to that honor?
Well, yeah, so my dad's an Eagle Scout, I'm an Eagle Scout. And in our family, my father told me I didn't have much choice. I mean, you were going to be an Eagle Scout. And so it was the same thing with my two boys. You didn't have much choice. My oldest son, Hill, he got through it pretty quickly. Hunter is a real character, and it took some extra effort with Hunter. And so the Eagle moms in the room, God bless the Eagle mothers, because my wife really put a lot of time getting Hunter across the goal line. But neither one of them I kept saying, look, it's very important you do it. And they go, why? I go, guys, you just don't understand your kids. Just get it done. So we're now at the Explorers Club annual dinner in New York. And before the dinner starts, they say, would all the astronauts stand up? So all the astronauts stand up. Would all the elected officials stand up? Would whoever's been in the military stand up? And so everybody's standing up. In the last category, would all the Eagle Scouts stand up? So my boys are like 16 and 17 stood up with all these famous men and women. Then we all sat down and they both looked at me and they go, we get it. Now we got it. Why Eagles are so important.
That's always the parenting win when your kids look at you and say, oh, I get it, you were right.
Now, as you get a little, every year that goes by, they kind of think I get smarter and smarter.
Happens a few times.
Excuse me, Mayor Parker. I believe we have time for one more question.
Perfect, thank you. So rapid fire, what's your favorite food around the campfire?
S'mores.
Okay. Hardest merit badge that you earned?
Swimming.
What about the most fun merit badge that you earned?
Horses.
What's your favorite place to camp?
I love to camp in Tanzania.
Do you have a burnt the pancakes memory?
Oh, sure. I mean, I was growing up with a mother, a grandmother, an aunt, and 4 sisters, I never had to cook. And so my cooking in camp had a lot to improve.
A little
How about
struggle
that?
with that.
It was a lot of bad food, but I learned a lot.
Yeah. And last question is, what Scout law resonates with you the most, you and your family?
Trustworthy. I think your integrity at the end of the day is the most important thing you carry with you. Your word is your bond. You learn that in Scouts, and it's integrity.
Couldn't agree more. We need more integrity in the world, don't we? Ladies and gentlemen, Ross Perot Jr., thank you very much.
Mayor, thank you. Very nice.
Let's acknowledge our newest Distinguished Eagle Scout, Mr. Ross Perot Jr., and show our gratitude to Mayor Maddie Parker for moderating the keynote discussion. The celebration isn't over yet. We have one last surprise in store today. Please turn your attention to the screens for a special video message from former BSA President and former Secretary of State Rex Tillerson.
I'm honored to have the opportunity to say a few words about my friend Ross Perot Jr. tonight. Ross is one of the most extraordinary patriots and examples of great American citizenship that I know. He comes from a line of generational Eagle Scouts, so it should come as no surprise that in all ways that Ross has conducted his professional life, his generous philanthropic life, and his family life, he has always used the Scout Oath and Scout Law as a standard of his conduct. Ross has been a generous supporter of the Boy Scouts of America over many years, not just with his treasure, but with his time. And for that, we are all eternally grateful. If you're looking for a role model of patriotism, good citizenship, and very importantly, servant leadership, you need look only to Ross Perot Jr. Ross, congratulations on this honor tonight.
Now it is my pleasure to introduce Longhorn Council Vice President of Strategy and Eagle Scout Michael K. Wood to the stage to share more about Scouting's investment in character.
Thank you, Renee, for serving as our MC at today's luncheon, and thank you to fellow Longhorn Council board member Sanjay Chandra for chairing our event. Thank you also to our generous sponsors who have helped us attain our goals for this event. There are many reasons why Scouting is important to me and my family. First of all, it is personal. It's an important part of the connection between generations of our family. I've also seen how Scouting can transform our youth, and I've seen firsthand Scouts who've come into my son's troop and struggled to be productive early on. But they left the troop as leaders, as Eagle Scouts, as having to achieve real results with the confidence to show for it. When I think about our community, Scouting is such a wonderful way to teach people to give back to their community with service and helping others. Scouting has played a huge role in the community, but it can play a bigger role. The more youth we can expose to the mission and values of Scouting, the greater the effect on our communities, nation, and world. Please consider giving generously to the Longhorn Council. We know that some of you may have not had an opportunity to make a contribution, or you would like to make an additional contribution. To make that easy, there's a QR code on the pledge card that's in your program. If you'd like to make a donation online right now, please feel free to do so. If you take a moment to scan the QR code, enter the contribution, it would be greatly appreciated. Scouts and staff members will also be by the door as you exit the event today to collect any pledges or donations. Thank you for all you do to support Scouting and invest in our future. Renee, I turn it back to you.
As the embers in our campfire burn down and we close our luncheon, we've highlighted Scouting's far-reaching impact and how its mission of instilling values, making ethical choices, and preparing young people for life continues to making a lasting contribution to Texas and to our nation. We are certainly blessed to have an exceptional Scouting program here in Central Texas. Undoubtedly, many of our current Scouts will grow up to be leading citizens we can all be proud of, just like today's honoree, Ross Perot, Jr. The power of your contributions to Scouting will allow more young people like me to enjoy the benefits of Scouting, and the combination of quality programming and positive adult role models ensure a brighter future for thousands of Texans. Ladies and gentlemen, it has been my pleasure to serve as your MC. I'd now like to invite the Dyess Air Force Base Honor Guard to remove our colors. At the conclusion of the ceremony, we will stand adjourned.
Yeah.